Hello everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. Got a couple pistols on the table that might be vying for your attention for subcompact concealed carry. I've got the Glock 26, this one is a Gen 5, and I got the newish Smith Wesson M&P M2.0 Subcompact. Please don't forget to check out our website. Go to our affiliates page. You'll find discount codes for things like Mantis Axe and Core belts. You'll find a link that you can sign up for Big Daddy Unlimited. They actually have things in stock and usually at a lower price than other places. Link to that cool little bore light that we use for lighting up the barrels. Use those links. It will often save you money, never will cost you any additional money, and helps the channel. Thank you. Both of these, as shown, are 9mm. As of the making of this video, I'm not aware of the Smith & Wesson being available in other calibers such as 40 and 45, but the rest of the M&P line is, so it wouldn't surprise me if maybe by the time you're watching this video it is available. The Glock, the 26, is a 9mm only. However, Glock offers the same basic slide chassis configuration, so you're pretty much identical to this except for the roll marks, in 40 caliber, 357 SIG, 45 gap. And then they also have a slightly larger frame variant available in 10mm and 45 ACP. So there's a lot of diversity in this basic platform within the Glock lineup. Let's go ahead and make sure these things aren't loaded and start talking about some of the details of them. Okay, so both of these are actually quite nice guns. They're both similar in dimensions. The Smith & Wesson is 6.6 inches long and the Glock is 6.42 inches long, so it's a minor difference. Kind of goes a little bit in the favor of the Glock, but not by a huge margin. The height of these is 4.5 for the Smith & Wesson, and it can go up to 4.9 if you've got the pinky extender base plate. So I was showing it with the flush base plate. So I'm showing both of these in the smallest configuration you can get them. Of course, as you start adding larger mags, they'll get bigger. And the Smith & Wesson goes from about 1.2 to 1.5 inches thick, depending on which back straps you have on it and whether or not you get the version with the thumb safety. The Glock is pretty much one size, 1.3. Interestingly enough, this one, as configured with the back strap on it, the widest part of this gun is 1.3. So they're basically equivalent in this case between the Glock and the Smith & Wesson. The Glock does stand out in weight. It weighs 19.72 ounces, and the Smith & Wesson weighs 25 ounces. So the Smith & Wesson is noticeably heavier. Not that that's going to be a showstopper for inside the waistband, but it may make a difference if you're putting this thing in your pocket or on an ankle. That extra weight may make a difference. Sights are good on both of them. They're different, and it's going to come down to what you like. But the Glock has these typical Glock U-dot sights, and the Smith & Wesson has really nice, bright, large 3-dot sights. The sights on both of these are very easy to see and very easy to use. The rear sight on the Smith & Wesson and the Glock, they're both dovetailed, could be replaced. The front sight on the Glock, there's a screw that goes underneath it. They're readily replaceable. And the Smith & Wesson is dovetailed. Both of these have the concept of replaceable back straps. They're executed a little differently. The Glock comes with 2 different size back straps, but the gun without any back strap is one of the configurations. So this would be the small, and then it comes with a medium and a large. And they also tend to come with extended beaver tail back straps. Same basic sizes, but they kind of come up around and bring the beaver tail maybe out to about here. The Smith & Wesson comes with 4 different inserts. This is kind of a U-shaped insert, and this whole insert slides out and you replace it with another one. You have to have one of the inserts on the gun, but it does actually offer a little bit more diversity in the various sizes you can put on it because it comes with 4, and this is equivalent of 3, even though it's done with 2 back straps depending on which one you choose. Well, I've got them. We're going to notice probably the glaring difference, and the one negative I would say that on the Glock that is basically a true negative, there's no rail on the Glock at all. Smith & Wesson comes with a 2-slot Picatinny rail. The 26, through all of its generations, have never had rails. Glock put rails on many of their other guns starting with the 19 and up, bigger guns. There's really no good reason you couldn't put a rail on it except the roundness. This is very rounded. The Smith & Wesson is square. So if they ever decide to change their dust shield design and go a little bit less rounded, there would be enough width on there to put a rail on it. The good news is the aftermarket has dealt with that for many, many years. The 26 has been around for quite a while, and the trigger guard really hasn't changed. This configuration up through here hasn't changed at all. So there's all sorts of lights and lasers that mount to the trigger guard that take care of that. But with the Smith & Wesson, any of the smaller lights and lasers that'll fit any of your guns will work. So that's definitely a plus in the direction of the Smith & Wesson. Both of them offer front and rear serrations. The Smith & Wesson ones are kind of thin and small, a little bit hard to get a hold of, but you can use them. The Glock, they're quite large and easy to get. Both of the guns have nice texture. The Glock has their kind of the diamond-shaped texture. There's variants of the RTF, rough texture finish, and different numbers that it's associated with it. Comes in different versions. And it has no finger grooves. Gen 4 has finger grooves, Gen 3 doesn't, so whether or not you're wanting the finger grooves or not would determine which gen you would pick. And the Smith & Wesson has no finger grooves, and there's no option to have them. The Smith & Wesson is kind of a sandpapery texture, but it's not abrasive enough to bother you. It doesn't really tear you up or feel bad, but it's enough that when I put a little pressure and try to pull my finger, it sticks where it is. Both guns will stay in your hand, no matter which way they go, and neither one of these is going to tear you up, so it's just going to come down to feel. So I'm going to put a flush magazine in each of them. You'll see the Glock is clearly a 2-finger grip. Pinky's just kind of hanging out there. And if I get it up nice and high, still a 2-finger grip. Kind of a nice swell, kind of folds right into your hand. And the Smith & Wesson, which does offer from the factory, it comes with a pinky extender magazine available as well. It's a little bit over a 2-finger grip, mainly because the grip in the magazine is just a hair taller, but your pinky's still kind of hanging out there in the breeze no matter how you hold on to it. Both are comfortable to hold, both are easy to keep a good grip on. And of course, the shorter grip and the 2-finger grip is a characteristic of the fact that you're trying to get a smaller gun. Magazine capacity, the Smith & Wesson kind of wins right out of the box with that, with the basic capacity of 12, whereas the Glock, the flush magazine, is 10. So that's a couple extra rounds, and it's a noticeable difference. It's a 20% difference. You can also use the 15-round magazine from the compact Smith & Wessons. And these sleeves do come with it. And you can use the 17 round that comes with the full size. So you do have this nice contoured grip that kind of flows right through with the Smith & Wesson, and the ability to use the magazines from the larger guns without them just hanging bare. Now the Glock doesn't offer that, and I know there's a few grip sleeves on the market, but none of them have ever really been well integrated. But Glock 19 15-round magazine fits. Glock 17 round magazine fits. Now I happen to be using Gen 5 mags, but this will work with any of the earlier generation mags. The only key is you have to be Gen 4 or newer if you choose to reverse the magazine catch on the Glocks, because they have to have this extra cutout on this other side. Here's a spot where the Glock does kind of pull ahead when it comes to capacity. You can get this is a 17 round magazine, but you can get one that kind of hangs down about that. It's too scary to show on YouTube, but it holds 31 and 33. And in the aftermarket, you can get drums that are 50 and 100 and up. So there's a lot of diversity and capacity you can get for this little gun. But if you're carrying it because you need it small. That's why you're carrying this, or you'd have a 19 or a compact. So you're going to most likely use the flush mag, and then you may use one of these additional magazines as your backup mag. So kind of looking at them from that standpoint, the Smith & Wesson wins in base capacity because that flush mag is 12 rounds, and you give up a couple tenths of an inch in height to make room for that. MSRP on the Smith & Wesson is $569. MSRP on the Gen 5 Glock is $650, but you rarely see them at that price. They're usually lower. In fact, typically, at least in normal times, not in this crisis time where everything's selling overpriced, but in normal times, both of these guns would be in the $550 to $575 territory, depending on the store. So the prices are equivalent despite the difference in MSRP. Now, of course, right now, any of these concealable guns are going for ridiculously over what MSRP is. So right now, it's not really a good comparison as far as what the market's doing today. Now let's talk about the triggers. We'll talk about the M&P first. And one thing I'll mention is it does have the hinge trigger. That's part of the safety, the inertial drop safety mechanism. And it has the internal safeties. It's also available with the thumb safety. The trigger has kind of a gritty take-up. It's kind of a little bit noisy too, but it's just the take-up. And then you get on a nice crisp 5.5 pound-ish wall, and it's a nice short crisp wall with an over travel stop. not the shortest reset on the planet, but a decent reset, and then a little bit of take up to get back on the wall, and then it breaks again. Overall, it has quite a nice trigger, and if you ignore the little bit of grit on take up, it kind of isn't a bad trigger at all. And from where I can see, it's not really hitting that over travel stop. I'm going to move my finger out of the way. I'll hold the trigger a different way. You can see it's going into a cutout in the trigger. There you can see the little gap. So it's not actually hitting that over travel stop. But if for some reason it did over travel a little bit, that stop would prevent it from coming all the way back. Overall, it's a good trigger. You aren't really in live fire going to notice the sound of that grit. You really don't notice the feel of it. Now, the Glock trigger has a little bit less take up, and then this one in the Gen 5s, it's a slightly softer wall. It's right in the 5.5 pound territory as well, and a very, very short tactile and audible reset, that where when the reset occurs, you're right on the wall. There's no additional take up, and then a nice wall. The Gen 4s had a little bit crisper wall, a little bit firmer. The Gen 5s kind of softened it up a little bit, but that also lengthened it a hair. So there's a little bit more pull through the wall, but it's a little bit softer. Both triggers are excellent. I would say that you're not going to choose one of these necessarily over the trigger in the case of one being horrible and one being good. You may choose one or the other over personal feel, whether or not you like the characteristics of the Glock trigger versus the Smith & Wesson. But I found that with both of these guns, I was able to pull good, easy follow-up shots, and the trigger helped me get the job done rather than interfering with getting the job done. At the range, I found both of them a pleasure to shoot, easy to shoot well. The sights were easy to see. So a lot of that then is just going to come down to personal preference. So I'm going to put the flush mags in each one of them. See if I can grab the correct mag and put it in the correct gun. Put them side by side. It's kind of hard to see it here, but the grip angle on the Glock is a hair different than many other guns. It doesn't really show up here well on here, but you may find that the grip angle on the Glock is better or worse for you depending on how it works. The easiest way to find that out is put the gun in your hand, bring it up, and if the sights line up immediately, then the grip angle is working good for you. If you have to twist a little bit, then maybe the other gun's grip angle will be a little bit better. You can see the height difference right here with the magazine, the flush magazines, and again not using the pinky extenders. If I bring them back this way, you can see the length difference, Glock being a little bit shorter. And if I bring them side by side, I'll kind of tilt them up a little bit. You can see that the Glock slide is definitely thinner than the Smith & Wesson, but the Glock puffs out a little bit. The Smith & Wesson is just kind of straight all the way down the sides. And with this particular grip on it, it is thinner. There's a little bit of a puff. If I put the larger back straps on it, that would bring it out, and it would be closer to that 1.5 inch that Smith & Wesson advertises on their site. This one that's on it at the moment is a medium, and on the Glock it's no back strap. If I went down to the small, I might get closer to that 1.2 inches that they advertise as the smallest, and then if I put the large on there, then it's going to puff out a little bit. But that's within your control. Now, of course, you're going to choose the back strap based on how it fits your hand well, and the differences of that 1/10 of an inch likely would not be enough of a difference to either be able to carry it or not carry it. And since some of that's within your control, it may not even be a factor in deciding between them. From a maintenance standpoint, both of these are easy to take care of. The Glock does happen to have what they're calling the Glock Marksman barrel, which is a hybrid between standard rifling and polygonal. Smith & Wesson is standard rifling, but in these shorter barrels in 9mm, it really doesn't make a huge difference in stability or overall velocity. Not enough that it's going to make a difference in the choice. But Smith & Wesson has this lever you pull down. The Glock has these little tabs you pull down. But both of them are true toolless disassembly, reassembly, and maintenance. And both of them are easy to take care of. And by the way, if you want more details on either one of these, we're going to put links to the full reviews that we've done on both of these guns in the description. So you'll have access to that to take a look in more detail if you want to. Overall, which one would I choose? Well, a lot of that's going to come down to personal preference. I do carry a Glock 26 as my EDC, so given that, I kind of have that bias towards Glock from the standpoint of I'm used to them. I've got Glocks in multiple calibers, all the way up to 10mm, and they all work the same. So I would preference the Glock based on that diversity of calibers and everything else. However, if I didn't have that caliber diversity and the desire to use 10mm and other calibers, I definitely wouldn't feel undergunned or in trouble carrying the Smith & Wesson. I think it's an excellent gun. I don't think it would be a bad choice. So again, that's not going to cycle around to the Glock's better than the Smith or vice versa. It's really going to come down to which one fits you the best, and other factors such as the caliber diversity versus capacity and the better grip sleeves, which one's going to kind of trip your trigger. Beyond that, if you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, click that bell up there to be notified if you do. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, Instagram, kind of everywhere. And thank you.